There's never been anything like it in Israeli politics. On the day the grinding stalemate over forming a new government entered a new unprecedented phase, the Attorney General was ready with his own historical first.
Today I informed the representative of the Prime Minister, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, about my decision to try him under an indictment that includes 3 charges. A day in which the Attorney General decides to serve an indictment against a seated Prime Minister for serious crimes of corrupt governance is a heavy and sad day for the Israeli public and for me personally.
An hour later, a shocked-looking Benjamin Netanyahu began his battle to stay in office while indicted.
Tonight we are witnessing an attempted coup against the Prime Minister using false accusation and a systematically tainted and biased investigation.
The investigations began in December 2016 into 3 separate cases. Case 1000 involves gifts including cigars and champagne worth more than $200,000 received and often demanded by Netanyahu and his wife Sarah from billionaires Arnon Milchan and James Packer. The charge, fraud and breach of trust. The same charges apply in case 2000, in which newspaper magnate Arnon Moses is alleged to have offered Netanyahu favorable coverage in return for his hampering the activities of a rival. But it was case 4000 involving Shaul Elovitch, the main stakeholder in the country's biggest telecom company, that attracted the most serious charge, bribery. Netanyahu and his wife accused of dictating precise elements of coverage on Elovitch's news site Walla in return for regulatory benefits worth $500 million. A recurring theme runs through these indictments: Netanyahu's obsession with his media coverage and the alleged lengths to which he was prepared to go to try to control it. That these charges were expected hasn't lessened their impact. This is an explosive moment in Israel's political and legal history. Now the focus intensifies on Netanyahu's future. Ahead of him, a twin battle to head off any contest for the party leadership in the run-up to a likely 3rd election next March, and a potential Supreme Court case challenging his legal right to stay in office.
If he was a minister, he would have to resign or he'd be fired. Because he's the Prime Minister, it's unclear. What is clear is that there's a moral problem right now, because it's not just that the Attorney General recommended indicting him, including for bribery. These are things that happened while he was Prime Minister.
Earlier, Israel's president officially gave the parliament the job of finding a member with enough support to form a government and prevent another election. Unprecedented and, in the view of most, unlikely to succeed. These are harsh, dark days in the annals of the State of Israel, he said. There may be harsher and darker days to come for its longest-serving Prime Minister. Harry Fawcett, Aljazeera, West Jerusalem.
Well, Marwan Bashara is Al Jazeera's senior political analyst. He says the indictment brings an end to Netanyahu's political future.
If I recall, it's Israel, but it does sound familiar listening to all the long impeachment hearings in the United States. Clearly, the similarities between what's going on in Washington and Jerusalem are quite paradoxical, I would say, not just impressive. Look, what we have here is a Prime Minister who served longer than any other Israeli Prime Minister and is still complaining that Israel is unfair to him, which is really amazing, considering that he did every trick in the book. He lied, he incited, and he ran the most, unkosher-like coalitions, if you will, within the country. He bombarded Gaza. He solicited the help of Donald Trump, and so on and so forth, and he still couldn't muster it. The Israelis, or at least the judiciary system, still could indict him on fraud and breach of trust and, most importantly, bribery. He, according to the Prosecutor General, basically used his office for his own personal benefit. That does sound like what apparently or allegedly happened in the United States. However, unlike in the United States, where the presidential system is quite protective of a very strong presidency, in a parliamentary system like in Israel, the Prime Minister doesn't have as much protection as an American president. And that's why I think Prime Minister Netanyahu will probably find it more difficult to resist the political pressure coming forward. And the political pressure is forthcoming, and I think Netanyahu will not be able to stand all that pressure.